Good morning. Yes, it's 11:35 in the morning. Sunday morning. Normally I'd be just about leaving Jewett City Flea Market. But like every weekend, rain, rain, rain. Yesterday, rained all bad, very bad day yesterday. Today it's cooler. It's about 70 degrees out there. Cloudy. It was raining last night. Rained early this morning. And we were going to go, almost thinking of going to Jewett City Flea Market today. But everything was wet. And when we left, it was not raining. But it was cloudy, and my experience is, had we gone to Jewett City Flea Market, when on a cloudy day, when we don't know if it's going to rain or not, my experience has been there's only 3 or 4 vendors out there. Usually there's a good 10 of them anyways. And it's not worth going up there if you only got 3 or 4 vendors up there. And the ones that are up there are selling plants and, you know, stuff like that. I mean, I'm not interested in that. So, it's not worth it. I've gone up there in the past on cloudy days. Days that look like it might rain, but maybe not. Not worth it. And I hate to go up when it's hot and the sun is killing me. I don't have a problem with the bright sun, you know, as far as looking at things are concerned. I need a lot of light to see anyway, so it's just the sun beating down on my neck and everything. You know, you need like a big sombrero, but that's not going to do you any good for the heat, the humidity, the stuffiness of it. Today is a breathable day, but everything's wet, so the vendors aren't going to come out, so it's not worth it. So we didn't go up there. We didn't go up last week because of the damn weather. The local yard sale where I got that sandpaper and everything, well, it got rained out yesterday. Everything's all covered up over there today, so there's no tools over there because he's not opening his yard sale. He's got everything with tarpaulin over the stuff. It's out there, but it's all covered up. And next Saturday, I want to go to the Brooklyn Fair, so that will be my luck when all the yard sales take place. That's the way it always goes. I can't be in 2 places at once. Anyways, I spend my money at the fair. I'm not going to have any money for the yard sales anyways. So, once again, we're in the shop. You know, it's been a few days since I made a video, and, you know, I hate to just make videos and just flap my gums. And I hate to keep talking about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, you know. And then when I do make a video, it's not all that important. You know, like the sandpaper thing. You know, I do these things to show people I'm learning, and I try things and it works out, and somebody gives me a suggestion with the bleach like Bobby T did, and that worked out good. There's a little mustiness smell on those pieces, but very faint, so it's not a problem whatsoever. The 80 grit sandpaper, 90% of it is all stuck together on the edges, and I can separate a little bit in the middle, but not much. I don't know if I take that whole package and throw it into a little bit of small concentration, maybe 1/3 concentration of bleach, 2/3 water, and soak the thing for a couple hours. It may very well separate, but all the granules, all the sand will come off of it. Unlike emery cloth, it'll probably stay together, but sandpaper, I think, when you pull it apart, everything's just going to come apart, and there you got a tray full of sand, and the rest is just paper. So I don't want to take the chance of soaking that. You know, sandpaper is completely different than emery cloth. There's probably a better adhesive, especially the emery cloth that's made for wet and dry sanding. You can't wet sand with sandpaper. The sand will come right off of it. So by the same token, my feeling is you can't soak it either. So, I wanted to test the range of this, but it's too wet out there, so I'm not going to do that. And if it works a good 10 feet at least, that's all I need. I'm going to be running an experiment on this video on the key fob. The frequency is 433.92 megacycles, or megahertz if you want to be modern about it. And we're going to try it on the Lodestar frequency counter, which will read up to 1.2 gigahertz. And then my Fluke 1910A frequency counter. And I can't use an oscilloscope because I got a Tektronix 2236. That's a 100 megahertz scope, so you're not going to even begin to read that. If that was a 400 megahertz scope, you'd be able to read 433 megahertz on it, because these scopes can read beyond their rated frequency range by some extent. They just don't cut off. But a 100 megahertz scope won't show anything. I've tried that, nothing at all on it. So anyways, that's what we're going to do today. I know it's electronic video, but what can I tell you? Now, when the weather does improve, as I said so many times before, I want to try to get on the Bodywork. However, the Bodywork, if you get one good day and it's going to rain the next, I may not. And I may work on Uncle Dorkel's wireless, and I'll tell you why. If I can get at least 2 good days knowing that I've got 2 solid dry days, low humidity, warm but not hot, 2 good days, I can take the right front wheel off the van, jack it up, block it up, make sure it's safely blocked up, start working on it. Then I can leave that wheel off and continue to work. So if given 2 days, I might be able to do that wheel well. I cannot do it in 1 day. I need to start early in the morning, after breakfast, like 9 a.m., no later, and have the whole day until it's time to eat supper, which is around 6:30. So I like to knock off about 5:30, get cleaned up. So I need that whole time area. Then I get my tools put away, but leave the wheel off. Leave it jacked up, blocked up and jacked up. That way I don't have to waste a lot of time putting everything back again. So I need 2 days of good weather. That may not take place until later September. It might even take place in October, getting close to snow season for the Northeast. Like I say, only 2 seasons, summer and winter. So, if we're only going to get 1 day and the next day to predict in rain, well, I'll use that to put the remote in Uncle Dorkel, because I have to do that outside, as I said, and do that video. So that's the way it's going to play out. So I did want to give you that information. Bodywork is number 1, but I need at least 2 good days to do that. And once I get that done, and then I got small things I can do on the body, I can do those in 1 day. But when you have to jack up the vehicle, and then you don't know what you're going to find underneath there. I want to sand down the wire brush down the spring and put some primer on that and undercoating on the spring. I mean, they're rusty, you know, while I'm there. So these are things that I need time to do. I still have to get some hardener, and one of the Walmarts up my way don't have it. I have the worst luck getting that stuff, and there's a Napa about 10 miles from here. I think I checked a couple years ago, they don't carry it. So, so damn aggravating there. I get to order everything online. It's just aggravating, you know. So anyways, that's what I'm going to do here. So I think what we're going to do now is to do some experimentation. Also, I want to try out the key fob for the minivan. I was wondering what frequency these are on, because they don't tell you. Just for curiosity. And I want to see if I can read it on the frequency counter also. I made up a little sniffer coil. Simply 5 turns wound around a pen. It's guessing. I don't do formulas, so I have no idea. I estimated the size of the coil that is inside or on the receiver here. This is a little narrower. This has been wound on a smaller form, but it's longer. So I estimate. Everything is experimental with me. And I want to see what the frequency is on this. Someday when I get rich, ha 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 ha, rich, ha ha ha. I'd like to get a 500 megahertz Tektronix analog oscilloscope. Then I can read things like this. All right, enough kidding around. You ready for another boring electronic video? I know you're not. Let's go. Okay, here I have my Bofang UV5R. Just happens to be set on 462.562 transmitting frequency. We've got a little sniffer coil made up here. No formula or anything. I just wound it and estimate what it would be. Hooked up to an oscilloscope probe set on ×1. And the reason I'm doing this is to try to find out the frequency, which is supposed to be 433 megacycles, out of these key fobs here for that wireless remote. However, it's only reading under 200 megahertz. This is reading right on my frequency counter. What I've got here is I've got this connected up to my Lodestar frequency counter set on the UHF. Right now it's just picking up random. So what I will do here, you may not be able to see that. I'm not using macro here because I'm using the Play Touch. I mean the ZE1. But take my word for it, it's 462.562. There it is right there on the frequency counter. And there it is on the radio, which you may not be able to see. I'll let it go now. Okay, so we know this coil here will is close enough to pick up the sniff, the signal of over 400 megahertz. The thing is, of course, the Bofang is going to put out a lot more power than the key fob. I will key the key fob now right next to this coil. You can hear it coming through on the UV5R here, so we'll turn that down. Well, the key fob is putting out, it's jumping all over the place. Now I'm getting this pretty close here. Key it. So the key fob might not be putting out 433. Either that or it's so weak that the frequency counter is not picking it up, and that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. I could get my AOR XL 1000 scanner out and verify it, but actually I could probably key it in here. So let me try to key that 433 in here, because the fact is I'm picking up something. On here, so it's, these boat bangs are very wide banded. I mean, you know, they're not a what you call a tight receiver. They're sensitive, but they're not a tight receiver. On the back of the key fob, be able to read the frequency here. $433.92. 433.92. Been a while since I used this. Been a while. You don't tell me I got to read the book on it again?
Frequency mode.
Okay, that's what we want. What did I say? 433.92. You got to do it fast, because this only gives you like 5 seconds, and if you're not fast enough, which I'm not because I have to hunt the buttons down.
4, 3, 3.
No decimal point.
9, 2.
433.92. Okay. All right, 433.92 is what's on there now. I don't know if we're in camera or not. Nothing. There's no enter in this. Let me see if I put a 0 on the end of that. Because I don't know. It does. I got to put a couple of zeros.
0.
492.0. Let's see if that does it. I don't know. It did better before when it was on 462. It's been a while since I used this thing. I forgot how to use it. There should be an enter mode, but there isn't. You know, in other words, enter the frequencies in. It's still showing 433.920. Huh. That's strange. Okay. Well. It did better when it was on 462. I don't think the key fob's putting out the frequency it's marked. My oscilloscope up here, my Tektronix 2236, which was given to me by Mike, because it's missing both the back, you know, the volts per division on both of them. I cannot get these anywhere without buying an entire scope. But anyways, this is a 100 megahertz scope, so that won't even read that at all. I wouldn't expect it to. And my frequency counter down here is a Fluke 1910A that I got off of eBay. I can't find the specs on it. I got to look. It must be in the computer. I thought I had a manual on it, but I obviously don't. Probably because there isn't any. And I don't know how high this would read. It's a 1910A. Yeah. A Fluke 1910A. A like an alpha. And that won't read anything on it. So let me show you on that. Turn the Bofang off here a minute. Okay, first of all, we're still hooked up to this frequency counter, which I got from Don Mangold last year or so, or 2 years ago. And when I key the key fob up here, I'm reading 160, 170, it's jumping all over. So it's probably, this can read up to 1.2 gigahertz, if you want to be modern about it. But this is on harmonics. So this is reading like 53 megacycles. Even though this thing will go up to 435, but that's on harmonics. Band F1 and F2 are harmonics. So you can't really test it. But I do know that this will read up there, because when I keyed my Bofang, you plainly saw it was 462 megahertz, so that'll read fine. But this guy down here, okay, I'm going to key it up. Okay, I'm going to show you here now. I'm going to key this. I'm holding down the button and nothing. So I'm letting it go. Alright, this is a Fluke 1910A. I do not have a book on it. I don't know if there's anything in the computer. I think there is. I thought I knew the specs on it, but obviously it won't pick up frequencies that high. And it's been a while since I used this too. And I'm set on frequency right here. It's so dark in this corner, it's hard for me to see. Maybe I gotta put it over to here. No, I'm reading kilohertz here, so you want to be over here, up in megahertz. I'll key it again. Nothing. Let's try my key fob for my our Dodge 2003 Dodge Caravan. It's also jumping all over. I was always wondering what the frequency of those car key fobs were operating at. I have to laugh at people that take the thing and aim them at their vehicles like they're infrared. I've seen a lot of people do that. You know, you can key them in your pocket, but you know, I always see people go and take them and aim it, let the car like that. My key fob actually works about 20 feet from the car. Once in a while, maybe 25 feet, but usually I've tried it many times in the parking lot, and the range is very, very short, and that's probably purposely done for other vehicles that may be on the same frequency, yet I haven't yet found anybody else's key fob, any other car going off when I lock mine, you know, or push the panic button, you know. But anyways, I wanted to, just for the heck of it, try this out. And I was going to do a range test on this also, on this transmitter. But it's too wet out there, so we're not going to do that. If this remote here on Uncle Dorkle works at least 10 feet away, I'm happy, because when I do the skit, the furthest away Uncle Dork will be from me, or whatever other character I may be playing, it'll be about 10 feet, about the size of a room. So if it works at 10 feet, that's good enough. It doesn't have to work half a mile away, you know. So I just wanted to make this test. You know, making this little coil, I just wound it around a ballpoint pen. 5 turns. But as you can see, it's all over the place. Alright, so you can plainly see on the video that at 462, frequency counter picked it up quite well. So my feeling is it's a matter of power that comes out of these key fobs. There's just not enough power to actually trigger the frequency counter. But this is generally what you want to use, or something like this, when you want to sniff an oscillator circuit in a radio or something, without loading it down. Because when you clip leads from an oscilloscope to see if your oscillator's working, you're going to probably kill the oscillator. Of course, a good old reliable way of doing it is to see if your oscillator can be picked up by another radio. Speaking of which, I think the battery connections are still a little loose there. I cleaned them up and everything with the vinegar there several weeks back on that video you saw. But the radio doesn't seem to be too active. Sometimes it's very active.
Check them out today because they're giving away an absolutely free information kit and a free gift card to everyone who texts star 85850.
Yeah, I think it's the battery pack. I cleaned it and everything, but it's still probably needs to be done a little more. There's no more corrosion there, but the coating is off on the springs and stuff, you know, and when I sanded them down after I did the vinegar and rinsed it off and everything, and I put deoxide on it, the coating is off, so you're down to the bare steel, so you don't have always a good connection. So I may have to try to go over it again. Maybe there's still a little rust on there, or maybe it just needs a little more cleaning. But the whole battery compartment's looking real good and nice and clean in there. I'll work on this at another time. So I did want to make a video for you all, because as I said in the beginning of this video, nothing but rain almost every single day. And there's, of course, as I said, no flea markets, no yard sales, nothing, absolutely nothing. So I just haven't been making any videos. I can't do nothing outside. Okay, thanks for watching. Sorry to bore you with this. Take care, everybody.